Idiots Monday morning, where we watch the Sunday morning news show so that you don't have to. I'm Katie Halper.
I'm Aaron Maté. Hey, everybody. What a great way to start the week. Thanks so much for being here. Please like the stream. Please share it if you want to share it, if you're in a sharing mood. Yeah. And also go to our website, usefulidiotspodcast.com. That's where you can support the show and get bonus content.
Yeah. And we, as always, have a doozy of a show for you this week. And we're going to start, as always, with Meet the Press. Meet the Press. Let's take it away.
President-elect Donald Trump is...
This is Meet the Press with Kristen Welker.
Good Sunday morning. President-elect Donald Trump is racing to assemble his cabinet, making it clear the most important qualification may be personal loyalty to him. Facing scrutiny, Trump's selection of now former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. The House's bipartisan ethics investigation into Gaetz most recently zeroing in on alleged illegal drug use, sexual misconduct with a minor, accepting improper gifts, obstruction, and other allegations, but effectively ending this week after Gaetz resigned from Congress following Trump's announcement. Gaetz has denied wrongdoing. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are calling on the committee to release its report before a confirmation hearing.
The House Ethics report, would you want to see it before voting on it?
I don't want there to be any limitation at all on what the Senate can consider.
So you want to see it?
Absolutely.
Do you have any concerns about someone who's been accused of sex trafficking, possibly leading the Department of Justice?
I have concerns that he can't get across the finish line, and we're going to spend a lot of political capital.
You're not on the House.
I like the way the argument isn't about whether or not it's problematic that he's been accused of sex trafficking, but that's going to take a long time and be hard to confirm him. Yeah.
Very time consuming to deal with a nominee accused of sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Never mind that they're accused of sex trafficking.
Right.
And listen, I haven't looked too much into the case of Matt Gaetz. I have to say, he has the positions that I support. For example, he called for pardoning Edward Snowden. That's great. And then in cases like this, when someone holds such a heterodox view, you have to wonder about whether political retribution is at play here. But the fact that he resigned from Congress right as he's being nominated, but right before the House Ethics Committee is supposed to release a report about him. Yeah. And now because he resigned, it means they can't release the report. It does look pretty suspicious.
What a surreptitious coincidence.
He's like, I'd love to stick around.
Yeah.
But I just got nominated for AG, so I have to step down. I've never heard of that before. Someone gets nominated for a position in government, and so they resign from their congressional seat just to oversee the nomination. It doesn't quite fly. It does look like
there's a lot to prep.
The ethics report.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think, it's two things. I mean, you can be someone who is maybe someone who the swamp would target, but also someone who's, sexually assaulted someone or sexually trafficked someone. So
two things are very well possible. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
House Ethics Committee released that report?
Yes,
you do.
I do.
House Speaker Mike Johnson initially said, quote, the speaker is not involved with what happens in ethics. But one day later, and after a visit with President-elect Trump at Mar-a-Lago, Johnson reversed course, saying he would strongly discourage the report's release.
It doesn't follow our rules and tradition. There's a reason for that. It would open up Pandora's box. And I think that's a healthy thing for the institution.
It's funny. Somehow the day before, he thought it was a healthy thing to do. I wonder what changed. I guess he had a really, Trump is such a legal scholar and such a stickler for rules and regulations and governmental requirements. He must have made a very good case based on the must have made a very good procedural case.
That's what happens at Mar-a-Lago. You get schooled on government ethics and proper ways of being an elected official and just basic morality. So Mike Johnson is a convert.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a born again religiously, and now we know he's a political born again too.
Now, Gaetz has been a fierce critic of the department he has now been tapped to lead, a department that investigated him for sex trafficking but did not charge him.
I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them, if they do not come to heel.
Now, several GOP sources.
I mean, it is important to stress, as was mentioned there, he was investigated for sex trafficking. He wasn't charged. That's important to stress. But then now other people are alleging that he had sex with a minor or yeah. And so that's the latest allegation surrounding him. A very Trumpian pick for AG. And he's not the only one who's facing similar allegations. Trump's defense secretary nominee also has some allegations surrounding him as well.
Right. And we know Trump, of course, has been accused of rape and also likes to grab, brags about grabbing women by a certain part of the body. But yeah, I do think that it's a stupid point that she just made. It's not inherently, and I'm not a Gaetz fan, and I do need to look into the sexual assault cases more, but it's not disqualifying to say that you wanted to defund something that you then want to direct. Because the point is, he was saying you should defund it unless, the Biden administration stops, according to him, stops like intervening and interfering, right? Like shut it down if they don't do the right thing. So in theory, he could be like, okay, now I'm going to be the head of it and I will do the right thing. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying her argument against him is silly.
Very true. I would defund the CIA unless I was tapped to lead it. So
exactly. There you go.
Very true.
Yeah.
Have told NBC News that more than half of Senate Republicans, including some in senior leadership positions, are privately saying they don't see a path for Gaetz to be confirmed and would not support him. Then there's the nomination of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to run the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy now says he's not against vaccines.
I'm not going to take away anybody's vaccines. I've never been anti-vaccine.
But Kennedy has frequently pushed false and misleading claims about vaccines, despite decades of medical studies that show vaccines are safe and effective. Kennedy even touted a false conspiracy theory that COVID was designed to target certain ethnicities.
COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese.
Can you name any vaccines that you think are good?
I beg to differ, Mr. Kennedy. When I caught COVID, it was pretty nasty, and I'm Ashkenazi, so I don't know. That's not my lived experience.
Right.
But,
yeah. Well,
anyway, I forgot this was a big controversy when he said it, obviously, because it sounds pretty loopy.
Yeah.
I forgot what his excuse was. I think
maybe
he said
there was a worm in his head at the time or something.
Maybe it was that, but I think he said it was taken out of context or something. But
yeah,
it does sound pretty clear there that he is saying that this is like it is a targeted bioweapon. The problem with this stuff is whenever even when you make light of it, it's a very sensitive issue. People feel very strongly about RFK both ways. Some people, he's like a hero who's going to make America healthy again. And listen, in his defense, he does say some things that I think are positive when it comes to talking about like getting unhealthy food out of schools for children. I mean, who can object to that, right? It's just when he gets into the vaccine stuff where he becomes very divisive and people have very strong feelings either way.
I mean, well, also let's not give him credit, Aaron, for his Israel positions.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, he's to the right of like Joe Biden and Donald Trump on Israel. He hangs out with Shmuley Boteach.
Right.
But thankfully, he will not be given a portfolio related to Israel.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
At HHS.
Yeah. Also, I forgot. I should mention that when I mentioned Donald Trump, of course, we live in a democracy and an egalitarian world, and Trump was accused of rape, and so of course was Biden by Tara Reid. So I want to give Biden his credit also. Okay, and Aaron, maybe if you weren't Ashkenazi, you would have had a much lighter case.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay. Oops, sorry.
I think some of the live virus vaccines are probably averting more problems than they're causing. There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective. I do believe that autism does come from vaccines. A mountain of scientific study links autism to early vaccination with certain vaccines.
According to the
in American.
I feel like our channel is going to get just taken down now just by
I know.
just to be played those clips of RFK
Right, yeah.
Jr. But it wasn't us YouTube censors, it was NBC News. Okay, we
Yeah,
were just
right.
we're just the messenger.
Also, I got to say that whatever you think about, a mountain of science, there is not a mountain of science that shows the autism thing. I mean, not to get into people are going to go crazy if you talk about this, but there's not a mountain of science. Now, you can argue for why, you can make arguments that there needs to be more studies on it. But anyway, should we keep going?
Yeah.
Of any link between autism and vaccines, which protect children from contagious diseases like measles. Also under scrutiny, President-elect Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host and decorated combat veteran. Police in Monterey, California say he was investigated in 2017 for an alleged sexual assault after a gathering at a hotel hosting an event for Republican women. He was not arrested and no charges were filed. Hegseth's attorney telling NBC.
Remember when Trump kicked off his campaign in 2015 by saying that Mexico is not setting their best and they're setting a bunch of rapists? Well, Trump is also not setting his best either. Or maybe this is his best.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
And I don't know the veracity of these allegations, but now he's got at least 2 nominees who are accused of sexual misconduct.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
News, it didn't happen. The Trump transition team saying, quote, Hegseth has vigorously denied any and all accusations and no charges were filed. We look forward to his confirmation as United States Secretary of Defense. Hegseth also has argued that women should not serve in combat roles.
You don't like women in combat?
No.
Why not?
I love women service members who contribute amazingly because everything about men and women serving together makes the situation more complicated, and complication in combat means casualties are worse.
Now, the Pentagon opened combat roles to women in.
I don't know. Listen, I mean, I've never served in the military, but if I was a woman, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, right. Of course. I mean, he is we are anti-war, but he is obviously a misogynist with some weird issues. I would hate to work with him. Let's just say I would not be happy to work with him.
2016, and women have succeeded and excelled in those roles since then. And joining me now is Republican Senator Mark.
The thing that, I agree with a bunch of what she's saying, but what really drives me crazy is that they never fact check people that that are establishment figures. They never do these montages where they give information where they show someone saying something and then they argue that person's a liar. Unless they don't like that person.
It's a very teacher's pet vibe. They go after only people that they're not on side with. And they'll never, for example, fact check someone like, I don't know, Nancy Pelosi or Adam Schiff. Or on the Republican side, even like a Mitch McConnell. It's only the kooks, the outliers.
Right. But so never Biden or Jake Sullivan or Anthony Blinken. I mean, imagine how much they would critique. How much, if they cared, they could just call them out for lying constantly. Yeah.
If you're going to be a teacher's pet on TV, you got to be, equal opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's have more on the nomination for Attorney General of. Now, former Congress member Matt Gaetz. But actually, what's funny about Matt Gaetz? He's coming back into office. If he doesn't get the AG, he's been elected to a new term. So his resignation is only in effect for this session of Congress. If he somehow is denied the job as AG, he'll come back to Congress next term. And I wonder then, maybe the ethics report against him will be released then. Although at that point it will be it will have less import if he's not the AG.
Yeah.
But anyway, so here is Speaker Mike Johnson on the status of Matt Gaetz and this ethics report that is now in limbo.
Now to the fact that one of your now former members, former Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, has been nominated for U.S. Attorney General. Gaetz, as you know, had been facing a House Ethics Committee investigation over numerous allegations, including one that he had sex with a 17-year-old. We should note that Gaetz denies that allegation. On Wednesday, you said this about the House Ethics Committee's investigation.
The Speaker of the House is not involved in that, can't be involved in that, so I'm not really the person probably to answer that question.
But on Friday, you did want something to do with it. You said the House Ethics Committee report should not be released. In between those two comments, you did speak with President-elect Trump. Did he encourage you to change your position and to squash the House Ethics Committee report from being released?
No, he did not. The President and I have literally not discussed one word about the ethics report, not once.
That is so weird. I wonder why he changed his mind after going to hang out with him. Was it like God told him?
Yeah, and I wonder, if he's playing loose with. This is delving into a little bit of conspiracy theorizing. But so he said we didn't discuss it, but did they pass notes, for example?
Oh, right, good. Yeah, maybe they texted.
Yeah, or texted exactly.
Or maybe they signed.
Mm-hmm. I somehow doubt either of them know sign language, especially
ASL,
Trump.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Trump does not have the attention span to, I think, learn how to sign. But who knows? Who knows? Hey, listen, he has won two he has won two presidential campaigns, so Trump does have surprising abilities.
Right.
So who knows?
And I've been with him quite a bit this week between Washington and Mar-a-Lago, and last night in Madison Square Garden. But this is what I'll tell you about that. What I said is entirely consistent. The Speaker of the House is not involved in ethics committee work, can't be, shouldn't be, because the Speaker can't put a thumb on the scale or have anything to do with that. So I have no idea what the contents of this report would be. I didn't even know about it, Jake, until the middle of this week when it was announced in the press. What I have said with regard to the report is that it should not come out. And why? Because Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress. He is no longer a member. There's a very important protocol and tradition and rule that we maintain that the House Ethics Committee's jurisdiction.
Again, we'd love to put out this report into a nominee for Attorney General, but he just resigned. The timing just doesn't work. We love to obey the rules, so sorry. It's look, technically I think he's right. You don't release a report against someone who just resigns, so fair enough. But the timing does seem pretty obvious here that they're trying to avoid the release of a report because he's just been nominated as Attorney General. And obviously they have grounds to fear what this report says about Matt Gaetz.
Does not extend to non-members of Congress. I think that would be a Pandora's box. I don't think we want the House Ethics Committee using all of its vast resources and powers to go after private citizens. And that's what Matt Gaetz is now. He is no longer a member of Congress. So I think that's a really important guardrail for the institution, and that's what I was speaking to in those sound bites.
The House Ethics.
Yeah, you're muted, Kitty.
Obviously this is so stupid and dishonest. This claim, because he's a private citizen. It's as of 12 hours ago, sorry, he's a private citizen. No. Okay.
This committee in the past has released reports of individuals who resigned from Congress. Congressman Bonner, Congressman Lukens. The House Ethics Committee, after the resignation of Mark Foley, even began an investigation and then released a report. So it's not unprecedented. And there are a number of Senate Republicans. This report's already done. It's not a question of continuing it. It's finished. There are a number of Senate Republicans who want to see it. They say it's important to their advice and consent rule. Take a listen.
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the.
All right, I'm getting bored with this. I think
we have to. Yeah, but we have to go to one part. Wilson, go to the time code I put in, or I'll find it because he says something very important later on. But okay, there 5. Yeah.
Because I've heard them. I want you to take a listen to now Senator, former House member. So just to take a step back, because you and I have known each other for a long time. You're a man of faith. You're a man of God. You're a man of family. With some of these nominees, Gaetz, Hegseth, RFK Jr., I wonder, does it matter anymore for Republicans to think of leaders as people who are moral in their personal lives? Is that still important to the Republican Party?
I mean, fair question, Jake, but also keep in mind Mike Johnson serving a guy named Donald J. Trump, who's also, been accused of sexual harassment and sexual assault. But then also, would Jake Tapper be wagging his finger at Democrats who, pay tribute every single year to Bill Clinton, have Bill Clinton speak at their convention, send Bill Clinton to campaign for Kamala Harris, who's been accused of sexual assaults as well by multiple women? No. So a little, I don't know, a little inconsistent there from Jake Tapper.
Totally inconsistent, but also inconsistent when it comes to Biden. It took forever to air any allegations. And the question of personal morality is absurd. I mean, is it moral for Jake Tapper to make up lies about Rashida Tlaib?
Yeah, or hospitals in Gaza where he's falsely claimed Hamas has kept its headquarters. Yes. Tough to hear an ethics lecture from Jake Tapper.
Yeah, right.
Okay. You want more of this clip, or can we move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay.
Another thing that's not so moral, by the way, one last thing, of course, is voting for genocide. But that's a genocide Jake Tapper supports.
All right. Well, let's hear one more commentary on Matt Gaetz. Congressmember Tony Gonzalez has had some strong opinions about Matt Gaetz. Tony Gonzalez is a Republican. So what is he saying now that Matt Gaetz is the nominee for Attorney General?
President Trump announced he was nominating now former Congressman Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. I want to play you what you had to say about him back in April.
I served 20 years in the military. It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I served with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz, he paid minors to have sex with him at drug parties.
Matt Gaetz has denied those charges, but your reaction to his nomination?
There's not one person that I know of that hasn't met Matt Gaetz and has an opinion. So I wish him well. I hope he goes on and does good things for our country.
You would like to see him get that nomination?
I would like to see him go do good things for our country.
But wait a minute. What you just said is he's a scumbag. You want him to be confirmed?
I want him to do good things for our country. I want everyone to do good things for our country. And the division, the more we can be united under this unified government, I think the better off.
The more we can include scumbags into the government who will do good things in the world and in America, the better off.
What an optimistic way of looking at human nature. Somebody might look at a scumbag, someone who they regard as a scumbag, and say, I don't want them anywhere near anything. I wish them ill. Tony Gonzalez is seeing the good in everybody. He's saying, I want him to do well. Has nothing to do with the fact that his president, who just won a big victory and who now Republicans feel beholden to, has just nominated the scumbag, or who he regards as a scumbag, for Attorney General. He's just trying to be positive about human nature. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think he just came out of a workshop or something. Some kind of maybe like a Buddhist retreat.
Yes.
And it's really changed his view.
The Republicans, they're so enlightened, all of them.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring.
Also, he's the one who said he was, what was it? We played a clip of him saying something ridiculous about being pro-life, like how he was extremely pro-life, and I think mentioned how many kids he had.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's him.
That was a good time. Yeah.
That's him. Well, good to see his return on Monday morning with another great soundbite. Okay, moving on to another nominee, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, who has a really interesting political career. She was a Democratic member of Congress. She resigned. She was a rising star in the Democratic Party until she stepped down from the DNC in protest of its rigging the primary against Bernie Sanders. Very outspoken when it comes to challenging U.S. proxy wars in Ukraine and Syria. But in the last year has taken a real turn, become basically MAGA, and adopted really reactionary views on the Gaza genocide. It has demonized protesters on college campuses who went out to protest U.S. support for genocide, and spoke in frankly what I think are Islamophobic terms about supporters of Palestinian rights and about just the Palestinian resistance in general, confirming the critiques of many people on the left of Tulsi Gabbard, who said that basically she was an Islamophobe all along. But the establishment is now freaking out about Tulsi Gabbard, not because of her support for Israel, but because of her past criticism of the national security state. And now she's been nominated to head the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, a really high-level job. And what are Democrats doing to voice protest against Tulsi Gabbard? They're rolling out the familiar playbook of accusing her of being a Russian asset. So here is Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, asked about that.
Put an apple pie.
Yeah. All right, let me ask you about another pick. President-elect Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, of course, your former colleague in the House. Here's what Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to say about her just this week. Take a look.
Tulsi Gabbard is someone who has met with war criminals, violated the Department of State's guidance, and secretly, clandestinely went to Syria and met with Assad, who...
One second. Wilson, let's show a picture of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, because I think she's not giving herself credit. Okay, so she just mentioned that Tulsi Gabbard is met with war criminals. Wait, yes, zoom in. Oh, there's Debbie Wasserman Schultz standing next to a very prolific war criminal known as Netanyahu. Anyway, relevant. Okay, back to the clip.
Gassed and attacked his own people with chemical weapons. She's considered to be essentially, by most assessments, a Russian asset.
Leader Jeff,
what assessments are these? What assessments?
I think she means like the opinion of Hillary Clinton,
right?
Who is the oracle of the Democratic Party still, even though she's has a record of just ruining the world with her policies and then losing to Donald Trump. But yes, that's the assessment. There's been no Tulsi Gabbard's never been formally accused of being a Russian asset. There's been zero evidence to put forward that assessment. But if you are in the Democratic Party, anybody who dissents from the party line when it comes to neocon policy, then you must be a Russian asset, according to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who, but ironically, is arguably an Israeli asset because, unlike Tulsi Gabbard, she takes a lot of money from the Israel lobby, which is there to buy votes in Congress for a foreign government, Israel. So another case of projection. So
and she's received over $900,000. That's how much she's gotten.
Yeah, at the very minimum, I would say.
Yeah, that we know. Yeah. We know.
Jeffries, do you agree that she's a Russian asset?
Here's what I have to say about several of the nominations that have been made by the incoming president, including the one that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was referring to. The incoming president, throughout the campaign, promised the American people that we would have the best economy, the best border security, and the best administration possible. The question that has to be asked, is this the best that we can do in the context of some of these nominations? Is this the very best that America has to offer for a moment like this with so many challenges that we confront? Of course not. America deserves better. Hopefully, we'll see the Senate Republicans do their job, scrutinize these picks, certainly confirm those that meet the basic level of qualifications, and reject others.
Leader Jeffries, you're not willing to say she's a Russian asset.
No, that's not how I would characterize her at that this particular juncture, but I'm open to scrutinizing whatever information is presented to all of us. But this is going to fall on Senate Democrats.
So that's the best we can do from a Democrat when it comes to like evidence-free allegations. I'm not willing to call her a Russian asset, but I'm open to it.
Yeah.
Let's see what they got. Let's see what they got.
I'm smear friendly. I'm smear friendly.
Yeah, I'm open to it.
I mean, the question that she asked is so ridiculous because she's saying like you're not willing to, as if it's something that he should be willing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And
exactly.
It's just so absurd.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have any evidence if you accuse someone of being a Russian anything. And because I did show that photo of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I do want to be fair and balanced. Wilson. There you have Hakeem Jeffries meeting with war criminal Netanyahu. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this idea that like we shouldn't meet with U.S. adversaries is this is now seen as like just common wisdom in Washington, when really, I mean, what Tulsi Gabbard did in Syria was going to Syria to see the impact of one of the most expensive, dirty wars in U.S. history, where the U.S. spent billions of dollars arming an insurgency that it knew was dominated by Al-Qaeda. And Tulsi Gabbard went on a mission to Syria to see the impact of that war and to try to end it. And she gets pilloried for that. When I think that was actually a very brave move, but that's what happens in Washington. Okay,
and shout out to the person who just observed that is Dean Phillips, standing to the left of Netanyahu, and just also just so you know, Hakeem Jeffries has received $1.5 million
from the Israel lobby.
Yeah, from the Israel lobby. Yeah.
By the way, remember when Hakeem Jeffries did that speech on the House floor, the ABCs of democracy, like B is for ballot. Well, he actually has a new that speech, even though we made fun of it on Useful Idiots, the last laugh is on us because Hakeem Jeffries has gotten a book deal out of it with a new kids book. It's called The ABCs of Democracy.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a
Hanukkah
book,
or Christmas present,
the ABCs of Democracy, everybody.
Yeah.
The viral speech is now a hit kids book. So there we go.
Yeah.
Go pick that up.
A
is for asset.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
S is for smear.
Yeah.
R is for Russophobic. That is an insane book. And also, as you said, Aaron, just going back to the Syria thing, this is so rich that people just openly bash meeting with people who we aren't allies with, because you don't negotiate with friends, you negotiate with people who are adversaries. Those are the people you have to practice diplomacy with. And the hypocrisy is so great on both sides of the aisle, because remember, Obama said he would meet with North Korea and Republicans slammed him and Fox News slammed him. Then Trump says he'll meet with North Korea, and he does meet with North Korea, and the Democrats and Rachel Maddow slam him. So just bipartisan weaponization of the crime of meeting with certain people.
All right, well, let's stay on this theme of Tulsi Gabbard. French Hill is a Republican Congress member, fanatic supporter of the dirty war in Syria. He has pushed sanctions against Syria that punish innocent people. That's who these sanctions always hurt, not the government that we're trying to overthrow, but the people that live under that government that have nothing to do with any policies and are just made to suffer because they live in the wrong country. And so he was also asked about Tulsi Gabbard by Face the Nation.
You have spoken to us before here on Face the Nation about your work around Syria and Bashar al-Assad's oppressive regime there. You actually visited northern Syria, an area that he wasn't in control of back in 2017, the first lawmaker since John McCain to do so. Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, when she was in office, went to Syria and met with Mr. Assad himself. Then publicly, she came out and questioned U.S. intelligence assessments of his chemical weapons attacks that were carried out on civilian areas, not just once, multiple times. These were high confidence assessments by the intelligence community. Would you feel comfortable with her at the helm of all 18 of them?
So according to Margaret Brennan, because the intelligence community says they believe something with high confidence, then that means we should automatically believe it. She's forgotten about things like, for example, the Iraq War, the WMDs, and many other deceptions. And, if you follow the work that I do, there's plenty of reasons to question these allegations of chemical attacks by the Syrian government, including leaked documents from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the world's top chemical weapons watchdog, which investigated one of these attacks that Tulsi Gabbard questioned and raised questions about, and found no evidence to support the claim that Syria was guilty. But as we know, that investigation was censored. It was covered up. And a show like Face the Nation, along with the rest of the corporate media, never reports on these leaks and these whistleblowers who challenge the cover-up of their investigation. Right. So, that's the Orwellian nature of these allegations. You're just not allowed to acknowledge the countervailing facts. They're just not allowed to exist. And so hence, someone like Tulsi Gabbard, who raised questions on justified grounds, she's smeared as, a conspiracy theorist because she raised questions that were corroborated by the actual investigators who went to Syria to investigate this. Right. But I wonder now if Tulsi Gabbard will be that same I don't know who Tulsi Gabbard is anymore. Right. Is she the person who called out the OPCW cover-up and raised, justified questions? Or is she going to be a Trump sycophant who now, demonizes people who protest Israel? She previously actually criticized the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land back in just a few years ago in 2020. I don't hear that from her anymore. So I don't know which version of Tulsi Gabbard will get in office, but that's not the Tulsi Gabbard that these people are concerned with. They're concerned with the fact that she dared to raise accurate questions about U.S. government claims that were used to justify war on Syria.
Right. And it's interesting, she never talks about people meeting with Netanyahu and his war crimes.
Oh, never. No, of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, well, because if she did that, she'd have to ask 90% of her guests. That would take a lot of time.
Well, I serve on the House Intelligence Committee during this past Congress, and I know the important job that the DNI performs in coordinating, collecting, and reporting on our intelligence. And I think should Tulsi Gabbard be confirmed, she would know with high confidence as to precisely how we collect intelligence, how we coordinate and collaborate on it, and how we then report it to the President of the United States and to the two intelligence committees. So again, this is an important assessment for the Senate to make. But I remind you, Margaret, Donald Trump won the election. He wants people that he has a good relationship with, that he trusts, that he believes can do a good job in the agencies to send the message that we want change in Washington. And the Senate, too, has their important job. And we're going to have to wait and see how the Senate handles each of these confirmations.
So it was John McCain who went in 2017. You went in 2023. I may have misspoken there on the year. But no, so you believe the U.S. intelligence.
Yeah, so by the way, it's okay for John McCain and French Hill to go to parts of Syria that are controlled by insurgents, including Al-Qaeda, which controls the province of Idlib. Not okay for Tulsi Gabbard to go to parts of Syria where most Syrians live, by the way. Most Syrians live under the control of their government, and they're subjected to sanctions that make life very difficult. Not okay for Tulsi Gabbard to go meet them. It's only okay to go and meet with the insurgents who we've been arming, including areas controlled by Al-Qaeda. That's the message from corporate TV.
Well, because Aaron, there are no war crimes that the moderate rebels have committed. Obviously,
no, certainly not. Okay,
no blood on their hands.
All right, let's hear from another voice on Tulsi Gabbard, John Brennan. He is the former director of the CIA. He actually oversaw the dirty war in Syria. It was his CIA that armed an insurgency that it privately knew, and it kept from the public, of course, was dominated by Al-Qaeda. As Jake Sullivan wrote to Hillary Clinton when all this was happening in February 2012, he wrote to Hillary Clinton, he said, Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. So the former CIA director responsible for arming and supporting that Al-Qaeda dominated insurgency, John Brennan, he has thoughts on Tulsi Gabbard.
Let me just start with Tulsi Gabbard, because you served as CIA director for 4 years.
What would having her in charge or in the role of Director of National Intelligence mean for the intelligence apparatus of the U.S. government?
Well, I think there's so much uncertainty about what Ms. Gabbard would bring to the job. As you pointed out, she has been an apologist for Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad. So many of her substantive comments, as well as previous actions, have called into question whether or not she has a good understanding of global politics and the U.S. role there. But also, she doesn't have
It's so I love the way his line isn't that she's evil. She's just misinformed. It's so condescending.
Yeah, she has the wrong views. To be a good intelligence professional, you have to be like John Brennan. What did he do? Well, what is his record? Okay, first of all, he was in the CIA when the Bush administration was concocting fake intelligence to justify invading Iraq, including through torture. And John Brennan was there. He knew that was going on, didn't raise a peep. So that's part of his record. Then he goes on to serve, and as I mentioned, he was heading the CIA when it was arming an Al-Qaeda dominated insurgency in Syria. Then he goes and plays a major part in Russiagate, where Donald Trump was framed as a Russian agent conspiring with Vladimir Putin, and John Brennan played a huge role in that. He actually overruled some of his own analysts to put forward claims that were not supported by any facts about Russia's supposed interference in the election. And then once he's out of office, he goes and is a major figure in that letter from 50 former intelligence professionals who declared that the Hunter Biden laptop was actually a Russian operation, which was a complete lie. And John Brennan, though, still sits there and is treated as an expert and about the importance of giving accurate information when his career is based on spinning falsehoods to justify establishment narratives, and especially pro-war narratives. That's
and he also got blocked congressional investigation into the CIA,
this is very important. You're right. When he was a CIA, this is so important. When he was the head of the CIA, his CIA was caught spying on a Senate investigation into CIA torture, where they hacked into computers and to try to undermine a Senate investigation into their own torture. And he was the guy in charge of all that. And of course, he got away scot-free because there's no accountability for intelligence leaders in Washington. That's exactly right.
He's so corrupt that he was on the wrong side of a fight with Dianne Feinstein.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was in the right when they did that, yeah.
And she was really outraged. She got up on the Senate floor and condemned him basically. But of course, he's too big to fail, and that's why he's still on corporate TV posing as an expert.
Yep. And also, we should also remind people that according to Mike Pompeo, who was head of the CIA, he says that in the CIA we cheated, we lied, we stole. So in case you want a shorthand for what the CIA does, there you go. But also they kill. He left that part out.
Experience in intelligence. She has never served in the intelligence community. And the Director of National Intelligence.
I mean, that makes me trust her more, honestly.
I know. Sounds great. She's never.
What a great endorsement. Ringing endorsement from Brennan.
Would you rather someone who served the intelligence community like John Brennan has, who lies and gets caught spying on a congressional investigation into his agency's torture? I mean, I personally would much rather someone who doesn't have that experience.
She's not very well versed in supporting illegal wars based on false evidence. She doesn't have a lot of experience in that area.
Is somebody who sits on top of the 18 departments and agencies and needs to orchestrate these agencies so that they collaborate, so that they coordinate, so that they're able to pursue the national security priorities in an effective fashion. So they need to have some understanding of the human intelligence, technical signals intelligence, geospatial intelligence, and other types of things, and she has none of that. And third, she doesn't have the executive leadership experience of running a large organization. And under the Director of National Intelligence comes the National Counterterrorism Center.
Mm-hmm. So condescending. It's actually it's almost like his tack isn't to vilify her as a an asset or an Assadist. It's just that she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't have the right work experience.
She doesn't have the experience to put your name on a letter lying through your teeth that damning or embarrassing revelations about the president's son is just a Russian propaganda operation, or she doesn't have the know-how on how to spy on congressional oversight. if they're investigating your agency for torture. I mean,
Right. Maybe,
that's what he's saying here.
yeah, maybe he could take her under his wing for a couple of weeks and show her the ropes of how to lie to the Senate and spy on people.
National Counterintelligence Center, Counterproliferation, Malign Influence Center as well.
What he's doing is just like listing all the different like directorates or agencies under her control, as if that's supposed to be impressive that he knows all these names. And Tulsi Gabbard somehow was going to be overwhelmed by, oh my God, there's the Malign Influence Center. How do I possibly deal with the Malign Influence Center? I better call John Brennan.
Yeah. JB, put him on speed dial.
So there's just a lot of responsibilities. And so the people, the professionals that are in these 18 intelligence agencies want to have confidence that the person who sits on top of them, and that person by law.
By the way, why does he keep saying sitting on top of them? This is someone who, is that how he viewed his job? He was sitting on top of his subordinates? I'd hate to be in those meetings. I
spoke to someone who worked at CIA under John Brennan, and all I can say is they were not happy that he was sitting on top of them. That he did not have a great reputation, at least according to this one source I spoke to. That's just one person, to be fair to John Brennan. But yeah, weird way of speaking there.
Yeah, and not once, but twice. Yeah.
I mean, when you're sitting on top of someone that suggests you're kind of stifling them, and that's what John Brennan did. Is like with people who didn't agree with him, he stifled them. Like, for example, in putting out a big report about Russiagate right before Trump took office, that intelligence report that wasn't even really a report that basically accused Russia of waging a massive influence campaign to elect Trump. He overruled his own analysts to put in conclusions that supported his narrative. So that's John Brennan. That's
had
how
to
he sits
sit on top
of
of them. Yeah.
He had to sit on top.
Is the president's principal intelligence advisor, is going to be carrying out the duties in a qualified way, but also in a apolitical, objective fashion. And I think there are serious questions that have been raised about Ms. Gabbard's ability to do that based on her lack of experience, as well as her very questionable comments that she has made and statements, trafficking in conspiracy theories.
There you go. The conspiracy theories. And also, she really needs his experience, and is a conspiracy theorist in conspiracies that he doesn't like. He has a lot of experience as a conspiracy theorist too.
Yes, he traffics in conspiracies such as that the president conspired with the Kremlin and is controlled by Vladimir Putin. He traffics in the conspiracies that the Hunter Biden laptop came from Russia. That's a conspiracy theory. But according to establishment, if you question the establishment's conspiracy theories, that means you traffic in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So
the claim, like he's objective. He doesn't like her because she's not objective.
Yeah.
This guy's we're supposed to believe he's objective. He doesn't just sit on top of people. He's very politically and ideologically motivated.
All right. Well, thankfully for the establishment, not everybody who Trump has nominated is worthy of dismissing. Jim Hines, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, he's actually pretty happy with some of Trump's picks. And guess what? They all share the same thing. They all accept establishment claims when it comes to war.
Speaker of the House called him one of the greatest minds in the United States or anywhere on another program this morning. On intelligence, though, because of your committee oversight, John Ratcliffe, another former House member who went on to serve in an acting role at intelligence previously, he is the selection to run the CIA. Do you trust him to appropriately handle sensitive intelligence information?
I do, Margaret. And just to be balanced here, since I was pretty strong in my opinions about the Attorney General and the DNI nomination, I actually had a really good day when Marco Rubio was nominated for Secretary of State, when John Ratcliffe was nominated for CIA.
By the way, I'm glad he's sharing with us how he experienced it. It wasn't that he was happy. He had a really good day. So in case you were wondering how he was doing.
And when Mike Waltz was nominated to be National Security Advisor, I would even add the nominee for the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton. Those were good nominations. Not necessarily the nominations I would have made if I were president, but these are serious people with real experience. They're not social media personalities. They haven't built their careers on lies and conspiracy. So, look, some of these nominations I think are quite solid, and John Radcliffe falls in that category for me.
Okay, so one of those people who he loves, who Trump has nominated, is Mike Waltz, who Trump has nominated to be his national security advisor. And Jim Hines says he hasn't trafficked in conspiracies. Mike Waltz served as an advisor to Dick Cheney in the Bush White House when they pushed one of the most disastrous conspiracy theories in history, which is that Saddam Hussein had WMDs and was working with Al-Qaeda. But according to Jim Hines, that's not trafficking in conspiracies, and that's actually a sign of great experience. Why? Because it serves the pro-war establishment. So this is where the two cons of both parties converge into one. Trump pretends as if he's anti-neocon, anti-warmonger, while appointing neocons and warmongers. And Democrats only make an issue out of not of like these warmongers, but of nominees who don't perfectly fit the neocon warmongering mold. And it's a scam that both parties use for their own benefit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're running out of time,
yeah.
so
God.
let's see. We have so many more picks to choose
I
from.
know. We'll bring you some of these on Thursday Throwdown. Which one should we do? What's the best one?
Well, okay, let's skip ahead to Adam Schiff.
I knew you were going to do that. He's your fave. Aaron fave, Adam Schiff.
Unfortunately for me, he is the new senator-elect from California. He's been upgraded from member of the House. Now he's going to be a senator representing California. And remember, this is the guy, I mean, we've been talking about Russiagate. This is the guy who pushed above everybody else in the Democratic Party the fixation on this conspiracy theory that Trump and Russia were conspiring, and he promised this, that Robert Mueller was going to deliver the goods. He was going to find the smoking gun of collusion, which Adam Schiff claimed he had already seen. He claimed, remember on TV, he claimed that he had seen evidence of collusion that he just couldn't reveal yet, which was a complete lie. So now Trump has been handed another election victory. He's coming back to office. All these investigations of him have not borne fruit. But Adam Schiff is going to reflect on the lessons of this election and tell Democrats how to rebound.
Voting on, is this guy going to improve the economy? Is he going to address inflation? And we didn't persuade the American people that we had a better answer to that question, that we had a better program, agenda, plan. And more than that, I think we failed to persuade the American people that in the voters' point of view, hey, that party, that candidate understands people like me. Mm-hmm. They're fighting for people like me. And that's on us. We're going to have to figure that out. I think that's what people were voting on more than anything else. And yeah, we're going to have to do the introspection to say, how do we meet this challenge? And, you know, more broadly, Jake, and frankly, I think one of the reasons I was successful in California is I was out there talking about the economy. I was out there talking about what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing and bring down the cost of childcare, and going to places in the Central Valley, elsewhere, red parts of the state, being present, making the case, hey, I'm going to fight for you.
Okay, see how shameless this is? This guy, I think, is largely responsible for Trump's victory, because rather than focus on the issues that he's saying we should focus on now, like people's standard of living, you know, the price of housing, of groceries, he was focusing on deranged Russia conspiracy theories. Then when that collapsed, he led the impeachment of Trump over pausing weapons to Ukraine. Then he also pushed all these different special counsel investigations and investigations into Trump that have also gone nowhere. And now he's saying, you know, what I did is I went and talked about the issues, you know, and that's why I had success. Well, if he wants to do some introspection, look in the mirror, Adam Schiff. I beg you, because, you know, look where your fixations have gotten the Democratic Party. I think he bears a lot of blame that he's not taking responsibility for.
Yep. But he's so humble.
Okay, well, meanwhile, the Republicans have plans. And according to Vivek Ramaswamy, those plans include deleting entire government agencies. He said this to Fox News.
Are you expecting to close down entire agencies like President Trump has talked about the Department of Education, for example. Are you going to be closing down departments?
We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government. So, yes, we expect all of the above. And I think people will be surprised by, I think, how quickly we're able to move with some of those changes, given the legal backdrop the Supreme Court has given us.
So there we go. Entire agencies, according to Vivek, are going to be cut. And like, what is he talking about? Because Republicans have always talked about cutting the Department of Education, for example. So is that what is going to go, and then what replaces it? And what are they going to do about the Pentagon? Because the Pentagon just failed another audit. I've lost track of how many times the Pentagon has failed an audit. They get so much money, way more than dozens of other countries combined. And yet, did Trump ever cut the Pentagon budget? No, he increased it when he was in office. And there's every indication that he will do that again. So as he's appointing Elon Musk and Vivek to head this like government efficiency commission, what are they going to do about a Pentagon that rakes in so much money that everyone knows is just used as a racket for the military industrial complex? Will they actually do anything about that? I strongly doubt it, especially when someone like Elon Musk is the beneficiary of very lucrative government contracts, including from the Pentagon.
You know how Republicans love saying, you got to keep a tight budget. You got to run your finances for the country like you would as an individual. Well, if that's true, you really don't want to be funding the Pentagon, because the Pentagon would be like that friend you lend money to and they lose it. They can't keep track of it.
All right. Well, speaking of military spending, let's turn to Ukraine. This clip of General Ben Hodges, he is the former head of U.S. forces in Europe, has been a fanatic supporter of the Ukraine proxy war. And he was interviewed by CNN on how that whole thing is going.
General of the U.S. Army Europe. Lieutenant General, thank you so much for taking the time. Before we get to what a Trump administration may mean for the war in Ukraine, let's talk about the current battlefield situation. Russia has been advancing faster since this summer. Ukraine forces are steadily losing in the east. Does it even make sense at this point to talk about a Ukrainian victory?
Well, I think that the way you've characterized it, that Russia is steadily advancing and that Ukraine is losing, is not necessarily accurate. After 11 years, Russia still only controls about 20% of Ukraine with every single advantage. That's the best that they can do. And that's without the United States or other Western countries doing everything necessary to help Ukraine win. We've never even committed to that as an objective. In fact, I would say we actually haven't even tried. We haven't used all of the economic tools, for example, to cut off Russia's ability to export oil and gas to India and China. So it really is up to the West. Do we have the political will?
So this is the criticism of the U.S. government allowed on corporate TV. We haven't done enough to fuel a proxy war against a rival nuclear power. That, we've been weak. We've been ineffective. We haven't imposed enough sanctions. We haven't sent in enough weapons. That's how you're allowed to criticize the government when it comes to, its role in a war inside Ukraine against a rival nuclear power.
Oh my God, yeah.
To defend the so-called international rules-based order, which benefits the United States. That means stopping Russia as well as deterring China.
I do like how he admits that the so-called rules-based order is there to benefit the United States. It's not about like benefiting the world and benefiting the rules and the law. It's there to benefit the U.S. That actually is an accurate admission.
Right.
It appears that's not the policies and the planning, though we have yet to see a specific one from President Trump, other than saying that he plans to end this war on day one. And there's a lot of talk now, given the losses that Ukraine has recently faced, that they may at some point have to go to the negotiating table ready to agree to give up land in return to some sort of security guarantees. What are the security guarantees that you think Ukraine could say yes to at this point to bring this war to an end?
Well, look, you are correct, Bianna, that if the West does not do more than what we have been doing, if we don't commit to helping Ukraine win, then the best that Ukraine will be able to hope for is some sort of negotiated outcome.
Well, great news, Ben Hodges, because after you appeared on this show, the New York Times came out with a story, and let's show the headline, Wilson, giving you exactly what you want, which is more support, quote unquote, from the West to Ukraine. And this is the headline. Biden allows Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range U.S. missiles. So there we go. Zelensky's been asking for this for a long time. Biden has resisted it because Russia has, said that this would put basically NATO in direct conflict with Russia, and Biden was worried about the implications of doing something that would risk World War III directly. But never mind that. Biden's got 2 months left, and on his way out the door, he's given Ukraine for the first time permission to use ATACMS missiles to strike Russia. Now, the Biden administration says that this will only apply to the Kursk region, where Ukraine has launched an incursion since August. But according to the Times story, it could be applied elsewhere as well. And look, I'm not declaring that this means World War III. There is some fear of that, understandably, but this also just could be the Biden administration trying to look tough and, just basically giving everyone the middle finger on its way out of office to show that it's doing everything it can to make this war go on for as long as possible while it's still in office. It remains to be seen. But again, the fact that we're approving long-range strikes against a rival nuclear power with U.S. weapons, and by the way, what the Times doesn't mention in its story is that this approval likely entails U.S. involvement, because Ukraine, I don't think, can operate these ATACMS without U.S. personnel. So this will put the U.S., it appears, in a direct role in launching a strike inside Russia. And this all could have been avoided. As we've covered a million times, there were negotiations right after Russia invaded in February 2022. There was the outline of a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, which the U.S. undermined by refusing to give Ukraine the security guarantees that it would have needed to reach that deal with Russia. So after sabotaging peace, after hundreds of thousands of people die, now Biden leaves office by approving long-range strikes with U.S. weapons into Russia.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting, Aaron, you'll want to know this, that Biana, who's doing this interview, she's very, very supportive of the Hamas rape hoax. She's been pushing that a lot.
Well, you can't get on CNN without being a propagandist for Israel, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So anyway, that's how Biden's going out with another escalation, and we'll see where it goes. It could just be, like a tough guy move. It might not be as significant as some people think it is, but it's scary. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about being involved in long-range strikes against another nuclear power, I don't think we should be in that position. And it certainly, had we just been interested in diplomacy, could have been avoided a long time ago.
So depressing. Anyway, well, that's been your Monday morning.
What a great way to end the show, huh? On a gloomy note. Well, let's be a little positive. We're very grateful for you for joining us. You can support us if you can at usefulidiots.podcast.com. And Katie, anything you want to plug for the Katie Halper show this week?
Oh yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to have on Jill Stein and Butch Ware, and I'm also going to have on Muin Rabbani, and he's going to dispel a lot of the lies about Amsterdam.
Yes, where basically Israel and its apologists manufactured a new anti-Semitism hoax because some pro-Israel soccer hooligans attacked other people, then got retaliation, and then, of course, cried anti-Semitism, which is a very well-established Israeli playbook. All right, that's our show. Thanks so much for watching Monday morning. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.